Welcome to this session at noon in our windowless room. And we are very grateful that you're here. This session will all be about public spaces and practical examples. So what we put up here is what to expect in this session, what you're going to see. So other than in other sessions, these are very practical examples on how can we remove barriers in the public environment for where people go out, other than what we saw before with voting or living or so. This is the public space, it's the topic of the next 1 hour or so. And so just to go through it quickly, we'll have Kerry Mauger here, and she will tell us about Wings for Autism. Gavin Neate about the Welcome and Button app. Michael Holden about Mobiloo. Lior Haviv about Step Here, you see it to my far left. Christian will tell us about Poptis, which is about the Viennese public transportation, to give some context to this acronym. And I myself will also use the opportunity to tell an update on Wheelmap, the project I co-founded. I try to be very brief so that to give the others room and start with that. My plan is that every person here on stage has space and time to explain what their solution is, and then we take questions afterwards. Sounds good? All right. So I'm with a small organization based in Berlin, Germany, and we make things happen. We are called Sozialhelden, which means social heroes, pun intended. Everybody can be a hero. And we did, 8 years ago, we started wheelmap.org. It's a map to find wheelchair accessible places. So I'm happy to have so many people on stage who also do about public places, because that's where we come from. And it's crowdsourced, so anybody can rate a place as wheelchair accessible or not accessible. My co-founder is using a power wheelchair, so that was where we came from. Of course, there's much more, and we also want to go much deeper into this. So Wheelmap is now online in 25 languages. I hope you find your language in this list. If not, come talk to me. And it grew to almost 1 million places in this time, which makes it the largest public data set in the world for places like restaurants, coffee shops, swimming pools, libraries, everything basically, which is open to the public. We didn't stop there. We also have more than 90 data partnerships with others, with companies and other nonprofit organizations who did similar things, and they contribute another 600,000 places. Because we think this shouldn't be that you have to know about Wheelmap or Wojciech Map or Access Map in the US or Jaxed in France, which are all great projects, but we believe disability mainstreaming means that, where you should prefer, like, what kind of cuisine do I like? Are there vegan options? What kind of hotel room do I want? There are so many places to discover these things. And you shouldn't have an extra app necessarily. It should just be wherever you find this information. It should be just like a phone number, so everywhere. So we developed a standard to put all this together. It's called accessibility.cloud. And this is actually where all this data lives. The data is still owned by the original organizations, but we make it easy to reuse in other purposes. So my pitch here is use the data we provide, share the data you have, even Excel is fine. We are totally agnostic to that, and collect more data. And what we're doing now, and then I'm finished, is that we want to go deep into certain categories and go way beyond just like wheelchair accessibility or a few questions. We learned a lot from the partners, and we want to go into the travel space next. So anything regarding travel, to come talk to me, tell me your stories about failures and successes on traveling with a disability. I'm sure you all have some. And I'm eager to learn about what worries you most when you go out and travel. And I want to put this all on the map. I want to teach the whole travel industry, basically, on how to fix all these issues which might be out there, not only for people with wheelchairs, but with other disabilities as well. And let's all work together on this. And that was it from my side. So I hope I'm not over time. And as said, we take questions in the end. And I suggest that Kerry takes it over from here and presents her project. Thanks.
Oh, hi. My name is Kerry Mauger. I'm from the ARC of the United States, and I'm here to talk about our Wings for Autism program. If you attended the opening session yesterday, you'll notice that they mentioned, I think, 83 countries were here attending this conference, which is amazing. And so I imagine that a lot of people were like me and had to travel by air to get here. Air travel is a basic human right that we think everyone should have access to. It helps, allow you to travel for work, to come to conferences like this, to learn about other, programs and conferences. It also allows you to connect with family members as well. Oh, let me see if I can.
The presentation is not on yet, so maybe we could.
Oh, it's not on.
Organize a moment.
But anyways, it allows you to connect with family members that live far away or to travel to new places to experience new things. There we go. So the program is created basically to, so as we know, air travel can be much more difficult for people with disabilities or autism who have a heightened sense of sensitivities. Airports are a world of unknown things. How will my child react to the sights, the sounds, the crowds, the screening process? And so this actually happened to the worst case scenario happened to a family of ours that was planning a trip to Disney World, and they've been planning it for months. Went to the airport only to realize on the day of the event that their child could not get past the TSA security clearing process. It was just too much of an overload. So they lost, money from the hotels, from the plane tickets. It created a lot of social anxiety and stress on the family as well as the individual disability. So this is where the Wings for Autism program comes in. So we aim to alleviate some of the stress that families feel when traveling by air and to answer these unknown questions to see how your individual will react to the different stimuli. So there are two main components to the Wings program. Wings is a program of partnerships. So like I said, I am at the National Office of the ARC in the US, but we have local chapters all throughout the United States. So for every event, I partner with a different airport, airline, TSA, and a local community partner, chapter of the ARC or disability organization. And this, so the first component of the program is the event itself, the day of. And this is basically an airport rehearsal for individuals with disabilities. And they do essentially a dry run of all the steps involved in the air process, from obtaining a fake boarding pass that the airline will print for them, to going through TSA security, to finding their gate area and boarding an actual plane. Upon the plane, we have our flight attendants run through the safety procedures, and then we encourage them to interact with families and to ask questions. We want this to be a learning experience not only for the families but for the airline and aviation professionals as well. So families aboard the plane, they are free to, check out the seats, the tray tables, the small bathrooms. Many times we'll have the cockpit open as well for them to go and experience that and talk to the captain, which is a crowd favorite around many of our participants. And the second part is the disability competency training for the airport, airline, and TSA employees. This is a very critical part of the component of the program, as we've discovered there is little to no training on disability competency for these individuals. So we created a training that's done prior to the event. It's a classroom-style training that basically gives an overview of the characteristics of autism and other disabilities. I like to think of it as a disability 101 training. It gives soft skills training, and we provide some communication tips along with best practices and lessons learned throughout the program. This training also allows for employees to ask maybe some sensitive questions that they may not feel comfortable asking directly to a person or a family with an individual with a disability. These questions, though, are essential for these employees to learn about individual disabilities and to learn how to better accommodate their needs for the future. So these classroom skills are then taken and implemented in the event in a hands-on, real-life scenario. So the program, we went national in 2014. Since then, we have held over 130 events at close to 60 airports, serving 18,000 individuals with disabilities and their family members. We've also partnered with 15 airlines and are continuing to grow each year. One of the great things about the program is the flexibility to make it your own. So we provide the structure and framework so that all Wings events across the country are the same. So each event is receiving, the same quality training and supports no matter where you attend one at. But the structure also allows for a lot of flexibility so that each community can tailor it to its own specific needs. So this allows the program to be very replicable for smaller and large airports as well as urban and rural areas. So as the program continues to grow, we want to grow with it. We have been refining our processes as we learn as we go along. We evaluate our participants on the day of the event and 12 months following each event to see if people were able to travel by air, and if they were, how it went, what their success was, what the barriers that still stood in their way, and just to kind of evaluate the impact of the program in general. So last year, our participants, 94% of them rated the program as excellent, and 33% were able to take a flight within the year, many of them crediting the program for their success. So how do we fund this program? So we are funded through a grant, a foundation grant of $110,000. We also charge a modest licensing fee to our local organizations that host the event. With this fee, they are allowed to use the program name, the materials, the guides. They receive access to our registration site and TA from myself and my organization. This licensing fee just helps us to offset the additional cost of the program. Any additional costs that are incurred we are paid for out of my company's general operating budget. Each event also has many in-kind donations. The airlines donate the plane for the event. The airport donates the space. All partners donate staff time to host the event and also to plan it. And then we also have many in-kind donations from local partners in the community that donate food, supplies, things like that as well. So what's for the future of Wings? We continue to plan to expand and grow the program to more airports in the U.S. We will hope to go international this year as well, which is perfect timing for us to be here. We are also always looking to partner with new organizations in the aviation and travel industry. And this is our 5th year anniversary for the program, so we're also continuing to expand our training materials and our guides as we, receive more feedback from individuals with disability and our partners. So that's all I have for today, and if anybody has any questions afterwards, I'll be up here. Thank you.
Wow, we're quick. Okay. Now, shall we just go from right from now on? So, Neate, you go from my right side.
Thank you very much. Apologies if you were next door a couple of minutes ago, because you're going to see much of the same presentation again. So apologies, I didn't even know I was in here, so I was running around trying to find. Anyway, my name is Gavin Neate, and I am the CEO of a technology company called Neatebox. We have slides? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So I was not always into technology. In fact, other than playing Space Invaders when I was small, I wasn't really into computers at all. However, in 2003, I started becoming interested in GPS and how my clients, as a guide dog mobility instructor, were utilizing technology in their everyday lives. At the time, and there is a picture on the screen now of Gavin, a little bit younger than he is now, in shorts and a t-shirt, training somebody how to use a guide dog. The guide dog owner is a long way away from the pedestrian crossing he is trying to cross and cannot reach the button. This was something that I recognized very early on, and in 2009 I invented a pedestrian crossing system where your mobile phone presses the button at the pedestrian crossing, not just for blind people, but for anybody with a mobility impairment, whether it is permanent or temporary. This is now operating in Scotland and the UK, and we have a whole town in Scotland where every crossing is installed. There are people leaving now, it's because they've already seen this, not because they just got tired. The thing for me was to find a way of pressing the button with my mobile phone. But once I had done that, I realized the mobile phone could be used for many, many more things. So much so that I had to leave Guide Dogs for the Blind and start my own technology company. One of the things that I had noticed while I was training people was when I walked into a shop, the customer service they got was inconsistent at the very best. Customer service training is very challenging, not just for the company to be able to afford it, but to cover as many different disabilities as possible, as I know my esteemed colleagues will understand. But it is imperative that staff members are trained, and it is imperative that they are trained by organizations such as Wings. However, that does not make it easy when you have trained 100 people in your company and 6 months later 10% of them have left. In fact, this represents a massive industry problem across every sector where there is customer service. There is a picture of a gentleman who is a long cane user. He is using a mobile phone. I have walked into shops and I have stood there and I have waited, holding my cane in my hand, and nobody has come and talked to me, so I have walked straight back out again. 75% of disabled people in the United Kingdom have said that they have had poor customer service, some to the extent where they have spent no money in that shop. The spending power of the 13 million people in the United Kingdom who are disabled is £249 billion. This is a massive amount of money for customer service teams and businesses to be missing out on. This is why they are missing out on them. There is a 5 pictures on the screen. The first one is incident. This is where somebody receives poor customer service. In the case of a wheelchair user, there is no ramp. In the case of a guide dog owner or assistance dog user, you cannot come in with a dog. But there are plenty of others. Then there is a complaint. Increasingly on social media, people are complaining, and this is great, but what they get is an apology. I am so sorry. It won't happen again. So we are going to do staff training across our entire industry. Of course, there is then a period of time, and this staff training disappears into the distance, and the member of staff has forgotten what they are supposed to do, and again there is another incident, and this cycle goes round and round and round until eventually the staff training is irrelevant. So what we did was we found a way of putting a GPS signal, a geofence, around each building the person was traveling to. They run a free smartphone application and they set up a very simple visit 2 hours before they want to travel to the venue. Venues can be anything in your imagination, from airports to bus companies, bus depots, to train stations, to hotels, to restaurants, to cinemas, to shops, to coffee shops, anything. On the screen, as soon as the person hits the geofence, the company that is running the application gets customer information, a picture, a name, an overview of a condition the person would like them to have awareness of, top tips on how to interact with that person, and also a message directly from the customer as to what they want to achieve. I want to upgrade my phone, I want to buy a flat white coffee, I want to put a bet on, I am meeting somebody, I am buying something, whatever it might be. This is empowering for the person with disability and ensures that they have their needs met when they walk through the door. But it is also of vital importance for the customer service team who now know how to interact. In the UK, there was a campaign 2 years ago called End the Awkward, because there was recognition that the customer service team is also embarrassed and nervous when they are meeting somebody who is disabled for the first time. This solution affects the whole of society. So much so that one user stated recently These visits with Welcome app have helped me to get out. There is purpose in going out if you know that you can get help and not struggle to find somewhere to sit or find a member of staff, and I think it's really important. It would be too easy to become housebound, ordering online and missing out on the interaction with other people. This was Anne Donnelly. The important thing here that is needing to be underlined is the technology is important, but the actual phone stays in your pocket throughout the entire interaction. We are installed with quite a few venues now, if I can go in the right direction. Royal Bank of Scotland, Edinburgh Airport, House of Fraser Retail, Scottish Canals, Atos, Guide Dogs the Blind, the Scottish Government, Dundee Council, CGI, RNIB, now with First Bus and also with London North East Rail, so for bus centres and for rail, and we only launched 1 year ago. The model for this is paid for, everything is paid for by the venue. The venue gets better ability to give service, they get better, happier customers, the customer wants to come back again, and society massively improves through its understanding and interactions with everyone involved in this circumstance. I think I will finish a little bit early, and we will maybe have more time for questions later, but I have 2 minutes left. But thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Awesome. So I would say we go straight to Christian, right next to me.
All right, thank you very much. Just waiting for the slides to pop up. It's the slides with Klaus Höckner. The number 1. If you give me number 1. Yeah. So we're making good use of your 2 minutes you saved us there. So now you see why there was a little hiccup there. Actually, my boss, Klaus Höckner, was scheduled to be here today with you. I have to extend his greetings, but he's sitting right behind me, actually, addressing the policymaker panel on the Web Accessibility Directive, which we're also working on. So being in the same place, or in different places at the same time, actually is not doable for us. So I'm happy to tell you a little bit of one of our, I think, most successful projects to date. It's POPTIS, which is short for Pre, On, Post Trip Information System. As you probably see, the shortening reminds you of a scientific project, and that's how the project actually started. So this was basically a project with more or less 3 partners, at least in the last iteration. It was 3 partners. It was the Viennese Public Transport Services, which we are very grateful, and I see some of the colleagues sitting in the audience, and we always enjoy the cooperation. And also in POPTIS, it was great to receive the support and the commitment. It was Bischof IT, which is the IT supplier, and it was us, the Hilfsgemeinschaft der Blinden und Sehschwachen, or the association in support of the visually impaired and blind in Austria. And for all of those of you who want to have more information on the project itself, or want to see the implementation, I also put up the URL there, which is poptis.wl minus, okay, no, that's too long, barrierefrei.at. So I think that's, well, if you have any questions, just approach me and I'll give you all the details that I cannot cover in this 10-minute presentation. Now, what was the problem that we actually addressed here? The actual problem was that blind persons need guidance and additional information to get their routes in a self-determined way. Because normally you have to learn the route you're going. And the idea behind that was that to improve self-determination and also to improve the possibility to be about and go out on yourself, you need more information. And you need that information in a standardized way. And you need it accessible before you go on the trip and while you're on the trip. And then you need the option to give feedback after the trip. So was there any misconception in the routing, or was there any hiccups or any problems that you didn't find? And that's what we tried to provide. And as said, the project actually has just finished its third iteration. So we constantly improve and amend the routing and amend the station plans as the Viennese public transport services are constantly expanding their underground network. There are new stations that need to be mapped and that need to be made accessible for blind users. Also, what is important is that in the case of an emergency, the trip system can provide you with alternative routing, so you're not lost if there is, let's say, an elevator going out of service or something like that. Then you get additional routing information and you can get that directly on trip. Yeah, there's a lot of text there. Basically, what I want to tell you here is a little bit about the process, right? So the process is, and I think there's another slide that gets that a little bit more to the detail. The process is started by actually accumulating a lot of data about the premises you want to make accessible. In our case, that was the stations of the Viennese underground system. So we got the floor plans from the public transport systems. We actually acquired 360-degree photos. We had some geolocation data, and with all that information that got compiled together, and based on that, we then defined which routes are feasible for persons to go, and where are the respective exits. And under exit, we understand every point you can leave the building, be that by train or by foot, or by bus or whatever, right? So generally, the routing that is provided through POPDIS is an indoor routing. It's not routing you from your home to the destination. It's routing you in the premises that have been mapped. Then the next step is that based on the whole data that was accumulated and the exits defined and all that, automatic process ran through and did some automatic descriptions. However, these descriptions need to be adapted to the requirements of blind persons, right? So and that's something that we found out during the project, that although we could generate generic routing information, text-based routing information, we still needed mobility trainers, and we needed especially blind persons to review the texts provided and to review the routing to see really whether it was understandable or not. What we have improved on is the text generation in general. So from the first revision of the project to the third revision, the text generation has gotten a lot better. And that's also a feedback we got from our blind users, that the text is more to the point, it's shorter, it's more informative, and therefore people can more easily access the information because they don't have to listen to like 15 minutes of way description before they can start the journey. And yeah, based on that, there is a cleanup process. routes are then provided. And also what is very important, especially for our blind users, is that you also get an audio file, an automatically generated audio file, and you can take all the information with you on your trip. So you can prepare the trip beforehand in your home, you can plan everything, and then you can generate an audio description of the route you need to take, and then you can carry that with you. If you want. You can otherwise also use it on the trip directly. Then you have to navigate it with your smartphone, so that takes a little bit more technological knowledge. As already said, the main impact that is generated is that blind users get an easily understandable and standardized route description. They can access that before performing the trip or while on the trip. And through that, they improve their self-determination, and they improve the ability to be about even in more or less unknown territory. What's also important is that the solution itself is, through the improvements we made in the iterations, is quite cheap to implement. And it can be done in an asynchronous process, so you don't need people to be at every station at every time, but as long as the data that I described before is collected and assembled, then the mobility trainers or also the blind persons can do a lot of the reviewing and text generation from their home offices or from their homes, so without needing to go to the stations themselves, which is actually a lot more cost efficient and also a lot more time efficient. So how is everything financed? And I think that's something really important to point out, that the Viennese public transport services took the burden upon them. They financed it, and they have a real commitment towards accessibility. So those of you who have been around probably in the city have hopefully noticed that there is a high level of accessibility within the Viennese public transport system, and POPTIS is one of those solutions that are employed by the public transport services to increase the level of accessibility, especially to the blind users. Well, since my time is over and I used, I think, more than the 2 minutes you gave me in addition, I'll make it quick and say thank you. And if you need any additional information or any further information, please approach me. You can also find us on booth number 27. So come to us and have a chat with us, and looking forward to meeting with you. Thank you.
Cool. So the next slides, please, for Michael Holden. And just to help them set it up, the names are correct now. He's here from Belfast, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Michael Holden, and I am from Mobiloo in Ireland. Although I'm also the chairman for the Centre of Independent Living in Northern Ireland. But I wanted to talk about a project that we are working on both in Ireland and in the United Kingdom. As you can see, I use a wheelchair, and because of my disability, whenever I would go out with my family, particularly to organised events like a concert or a carnival, a show that was in a public space, there were never any toilets provided that I could use. So I designed a mobile bathroom, and at the same time, James Brown, who is originally from Northern Ireland, was doing exactly the same thing in England. So we teamed up together, and James had come up with the name Mobiloo already, so we decided to run with that in Ireland as well. As you can see from the video, we, just like everybody else, want to go out and be a part of society and do all the fun things that everybody else was doing around the world. And we were restricted simply because there were no toilet facilities available. So we came up with the vehicles, of which you can see a floor plan there, which has an electric height-adjustable changing table for adults who don't have core strength to actually use a lavatory. There is a toilet, there is hot and cold running water, and the newer models now have a complete shower facility in them. But most importantly, there is room inside these vehicles for large wheelchairs and for personal assistants to be able to help. They are versatile, and there is a lift on the back to help get people inside and indeed back out again. And the impact in the United Kingdom and Ireland has been absolutely tremendous. We have been used now by the BBC, the British Council, even the European, Football League, the Premiership. They do not have facilities in stadiums, even brand new stadiums, which is a crying shame. So they hire us to go and be there when they're playing games at home. We're also hired by the Irish government for some of their events and festivals, and in the past summer we were hired by the Vatican when the Pope visited Ireland. And believe it or not, we were really used, the capacity was nearly hard to deal with. And in the flower show last year, the government came to us and said, do you know, your vehicle has been the top 2 trending tweets of the entire event. And that is because people with disabilities were so excited that they could come and spend the day and not have to starve themselves of liquid or go home early simply because there was nowhere to use a bathroom. Those are a few images of what people face when there are no toilet facilities, lying on dirty floors, being placed in unhygienic situations, and a loss of dignity. But what is even better is, because we researched this and built them for people with complex needs, they are suitable for everybody, and an attendant goes with each vehicle so that they're cleaned after each use. So people with visual impairments who maybe have service animals, they're really happy to know that their service animal is lying down on a clean floor and not not a place that somebody may have urinated on and it hasn't been cleaned for an awfully long time. The spaces are ideal for those with autism because they're colour-coded inside to have a visual impact which is not disturbing. And also the attendant is able to ensure that the equipment is in full working order for the entire process of the hire. Some of the success factors are just written there. People in their own words that said that Annie said that it was the best 3 days of her life being able to go to a concert and stay there and not have to go home. So it's been absolutely fantastic. Mobiloos were personally financed to start off with, and they've been income generating ever since. And we've been using that income to build more of them and to get out our reach. We now need a capacity in the UK and Ireland for 60 of those vehicles for the coming year. And the interest is growing further afield. Disabled people right across the world who are seeing us on social media are saying, please bring those to our country. So the next steps is obviously continued expansion in our home market, but it's to be able to share what we are doing with other nations so that they can see the joy and spread freedom to people with disabilities in their own country. And we're down also on booth 24. We'd love to have brought a Mobiloo with us, but we couldn't. They were too large. But we do have a video where people whose lives we've changed are able to explain to you exactly what a Mobiloo has meant to them, their family, and their friends. Thank you.
Thanks. And last but not least, Lior Haviv from Tel Aviv.
Yeah, one second.
Is presenting Step Here. So
I just want to make sure that it's Step Here.
Clicker works.
Yeah, if I can manage. 1 second.
Let me know if you need anything.
Maybe I can
do the clicker if you want.
Okay, can you help me? Okay, thank you. Okay, so hi, good morning. Well, it's not morning anymore. Time goes fast. You can move to the second floor. What we have here in Step Here, it's amazing. You know, we went through all this project and startups here in this table, and as I can see, we all can collaborate, and it's amazing. All these people sit here. Each one of us has a different point of view of what we can do in the spaces, in the community. And what we do is we start to develop an inclusive, innovative system for orientation and guidance in the spaces, but we do it in a different resolution. We started with blind people, and then we understood that actually we needed more inclusive and for all. And I can tell you one story that the first time that I learned about the technology of Step Here, it's when I took my daughter to the ballet class, and I had to use the lift, but somebody had to operate that. And with our technology, I could directly call him, and he came and helped me to go up. So when I understand that, and we have services and technology that it's online and offline, because for blind people, they need also to understand where is the location specifically they are, not just you know, go through a pass and get to the area, but the specific door they need to face, and not to face to face, not to have their back facing the door. So, can you please? And so, yeah, so as you could see down in the slide before, we're trying to take different solutions and put it in one technology for different people with different disabilities, diverse abilities, as I like to call it. And of course, smart cities, this is the future economic go over there. Where we all know that, and there is a lot of money. As a startup, you need to know that you can make things, and you have the government support for that. So if you, and of course, transportation is part of that, and we know that in Israel, 50% of people with disability don't use transportation, and because I don't want to go through again all the obstacles they have to face and to cope with, but as you can see from what we heard before, there is a specific problems and inconvenient situations that we have to face with. And if you go please to the next one. So we have, why it's like that? Can you press again? Okay, I don't know why it's, so what we have done here in Israel, we had a successful pilot with 70 buses and 150 stations. It's 2 lines in 2 cities that people are already using our application. As you can see, it's a management platform, and we also collect the information of who is going on the bus and using the specific location, and all that information is collected. You can you please go through? And we do that with a simple application, and I think it's very important that the application will be easy to use. And we do it in 3 steps. I mean, the application can help us to use and to function very simple. The first thing we need to know is where is the bus station, and this is also by audio sign. And what we can see also that the bus, we can have the information about the bus line, the time, and can you please go to the second one? And then we can use the application to send a message to the driver that we're there. And as you can understand, the situation that I had in my life, that I was standing in a bus station and another bus came in, but I needed the other line. So he already missed me. He didn't see me, the bus that I needed. And in this situation, we can give the bus driver the information just before he entered the station, and he can plan his way to stop and to be more accessible for me. And we see it as a change. We see it as this little message can make a difference of how people think about people with disabilities. Because we don't like to send a message as the sign of people with disabilities, the person sit on a wheelchair. What we like to send, it's good morning, John. It's Lior, I'm waiting for you in the station. And the picture should be happy, that will make the connection and the right approach. And when he will go down and help me, it will be a different story, because he knows my name, I know his name, and it will come with a smile. And it's important. So the next, it's easy. I'm on the bus, I can send the message that this is the station I want to take off, and as I can see it, my mission is accomplished. So we have different projects around the world already. We have in retails, we have hotels, as you can see here, and I don't want to go through in more details, but you can come and see us later on. What I can say that we have the Israeli Innovation Authority that support our project with the Ministry and Transport, and we are planning now for the next step to scale up for another city, and another lines, and it's going to be different project with a big amount of money. And our challenges, as I can see, it's for all of us. First of all, people with disability need to know that this application is there, and it should be more inclusive. And we do it also for people with cognitive complications. And we would like the application to be personal. If I'm on a wheelchair or I'm a blind person, it will be different to use it. And the face, the platform will be different. The application will be different. And the second thing is the education. It's a community, and we need to teach also not the drivers, also the people with disabilities, what they can do with it. I can tell you that we use it. I can use it for also to open my car. I can use it to open my gate to the house. So it's helped me in different places in my life. And maybe I should stop here and ask you if you have, and ask you to come and visit us, because we are ready to scale up, and we would like to hear what you have to say. So we are ready to step forward, and we would like to hear what you have to say about it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're through these solutions on public spaces, and we're happy to take questions from the audience. I see one here. That was quick.
Yeah, because the last presentation really gave me the question.
Can you go closer to the microphone?
Sorry. Yeah. Is this better or
a bit?
Yeah.
Not? Okay. So, I am Frank Siewen. I work for Enil, and I have actually a question to two of you. Okay. Whoa, this is okay. Okay, so now you definitely hear me, so I will ask the question now. So I have a question for Gavin and Leroy, both. And my question is the same. Basically, the app is great and it passes information about obstacles and how to overcome them to like providers of services, shops or buses or public transport. My question is, well, in two ways. The first part is, will this app also then encourage the providers to actually remove the barriers, to say like, okay, for the wheelchair you need a ramp, for the blind people you need tactile information, so you can either get out of the bus or come out of your shop and help the person, but you can also remove the obstacles by putting the ramp and putting the tactile information up front in the first place. And then my second question related to that is, do you plan to do then the disability awareness training by involving disabled people to go to these places and actually give the service providers the right information on how to overcome the obstacles? Thank you.
I think this question is more to going to you now. You take that.
In Scotland, we play a lot of rugby.
Yeah.
This is called a hospital pass.
I don't know all the rules.
It means I get the ball and then I get hit by somebody else. No,
I will help you with that.
It's a very good question. We work very closely with all of our partners, and in delivering this solution, we raise massive awareness within the organization, not just with the customer service team, but also with the management. Just recently, we installed with a large department store. Well, it was 1 year ago now we have installed with them. And before, every single review was less than 2 stars out of 5. Since installing our system, every single review has been 5 stars. 5 stars, from 2 average or maximum to 5 stars. And every single review, when you ask, the person says the staff were better, there was much more access, they understood my access needs. Now I live in Scotland, where, as you imagine, there are lots of castles and very old buildings, and they are not very accessible, and nor can you add in lifts. But the one thing that we have found out is that if the staff have an understanding of need, then they can communicate with somebody and explain. And it is a human-to-human interaction that is the most important thing here. Yeah, I live in a castle. No, I don't have a lift to the top, but there is a fantastic journey around the castle, and I will come with you and explain some of the things that you are going to see. What we are doing is changing the societal approach towards the communication between 2 people, rather than instantly changing how all of the buildings are built. That said, we are finding that companies are much, much more inclined to do more than just the communication. They want to improve ramps and access and everything. So it's a super question, and luckily we are responding to this.
Did he answer all the question? Because what I think that his approach is to understand what our needs, and we give the solution for the option that you don't have. You still need to open the door, and you don't need someone to come and help you with that. That's fine. But getting into the store or whatever it's going to be, you do need information inside the store, and it's obviously that between people it's better to do it, to know before what is your needs, to be aware of that.
In addition to that, in our application, and I can show it to you later, you have an overview of how accessible the building is, but you are also given information, that's physical access, but you are also given information on social access. In other words, is somebody in the building trained with sign language? Is somebody in the building trained in first aid? Is somebody in the building aware of autism or epilepsy or any other disability? So there is a social connection, not just a physical connection.
Okay, so more questions regarding these projects or public places? You know, show your hands. Do you all still have your lunch vouchers? And oh, there's a question here. On the far left side. Maybe you can bring a microphone. It's on the way. Microphone is on the way.
Hello. I'm not sure you mentioned before I came, but I would like to ask something about beacon technology, about indoor navigation. We use also such kind of technology in Turkey, but the problem, it is very important in indoor navigation, especially in metro stations or inside shopping centers like that. But the problem is if two things are too close to each other, then there is a confusion between them. And then the step-by-step navigation cannot be occurred. Do you have any future plans to improve such kind of technologies?
Okay, so since the question is about beacon technology in metro stations, I think Christian is the
I can answer.
You can answer this? Okay, you go first.
Mean, what we have...
I know step here, so maybe they
it's step here. You know step here?
Of course.
Okay. So it's the audio sign, because you need to know a specific location. I mean, you can get into the area, you can get to the different resolutions, but you still need the specific audio sign for that. Maybe that is answering your question?
But is there such kind of beacon with audio sign?
This is what we have in our solution, and you can come later on to booth 9 and we can show you.
Okay, I will. Surely I will.
Great.
Okay, so you want to go? Yeah, still, or?
Well, probably just as a general remark that from our experience, especially in indoor navigation for blind persons,
right.
The accuracy of beacon solutions is not really what like most of our users would have expected to be. So what we found is that beacons are a good supporting tool, but they are not a catch-all solution, basically. So they can be supportive, but they're definitely not as accurate that you could really do independent navigation based on them.
Hey, it can bring you to the area, but does it give you the specific door?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One word from you?
This was an area that, as an orientation mobility instructor working with visual impairment, I realized very early on that beacons were not going to be the answer that a lot of people put into practice. I also was very aware that blind people don't necessarily want a solution that says left a bit, right a bit, left a bit, right a bit. What I then realized was in my solution that when you walk through the door, if somebody approaches you and then offers help if you need it, this was what a lot of people wanted. So this was the route I had decided to do. You walk through the door, you know there is a seat on your left, and you know that somebody will approach you and say, how can you be helped? As far as beacons are concerned, the triangulation of beacons, i.e. having 3 beacons close together, can never tell you which direction you're facing in. Just like the GPS in your car, if you turn your car around, it doesn't know you've turned your car around until you have given it some movement to know which direction you are facing in. So it was never going to work. Also, on top of that, one of the most important things is how do you monetize a solution that is just for a small proportion of the population? Mm-hmm. Do you make the blind person pay for it? Because this is a tax on visual impairment or disability, and it is not something we were prepared to do.
So people first, not technology first. More questions? I have one question here.
Hi, thanks everyone. That's been really interesting. I can give a little bit of information actually on indoor options to beacons, because we've done some work on internal wayfinding in airport environments. And actually, one way to get around the issue with beacon technology is using the accelerometers in the phones themselves. And by adding all of the sensors that are already available in many of the smartphones, in addition to any internal wayfinding, can get a much, much higher level of accuracy for independent journeys when there doesn't happen to be someone, you know, as Gavin's saying, to allow people to have a customer service experience to support the navigation. So yes, internal accelerometers in the smartphones is actually where a lot of the wayfinding, internal wayfinding is moving to.
Okay, so the smartphone sensors in the phone might help increase the accuracy of beacons. Okay, thanks for that. More questions? Show of hands. All right. So it seems you have a couple more minutes for lunch. So we will all be here in front come and talk to us one-on-one, also during the conference. I like the idea of this being a big family and community. And with that, yeah, have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.